Um, Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ando. I'm a PhD candidate at the Conservation Action Lab at the Ecology and Evolutionary Biology Department here at UCSC, and I'm a CSP designated emphasis. Today, I'm going to present my research on the impact and effectiveness of locally managed marine areas in reducing poverty in Madagascar. First, let me tell you how I get interested in this topic. I studied ecological economics in my home country, Madagascar, which is, as most of you know, one of the hotspots of biodiversity in the world. And that's how my passion for an equitable management of natural resources and my interest in raising and amplifying the voices of local communities started. So I'm convinced that an economic system that is respectful of the environment is crucial in developing countries like Madagascar. After my studies, I worked for 10 years with the local communities in setting up an inclusive marine conservation program at Conservation International Madagascar. And this ended up with the creation of a new protected area in the northeast of Madagascar and a network of locally managed marine areas. The conservation and the management of marine resources is a global challenge, and that it is aggravated now by the destruction of marine habitats and ecosystems, and increasing poverty, and the lack of human rights. And the traditional approach to studying marine resources management and conservation used to separate the three problems related to resource conservation, human well-being, and the lack of human rights. So the problem is that this traditional approach doesn't really treat all the problems that are related to the conservation of marine resources. But an emerging approach of socio-ecological system links these three areas into a single system and aims to find a standard solution for the three problems that are related. So locally managed marine areas, or hereafter LMMAs, is an appealing example of using socio-ecological system in marine resource management. But let me first explain to you what LMMA is. LMMA is a coastal and nearshore area managed by the local communities, and they are managed for a system of combined system of temporary and rotational closures, where the fishing is closed for a certain period and then reopen while another area is starting to be closed again. So this is a combination of two types of closures, but sometimes permanent fisheries closures can be implemented in LMMAs. And the goal of these closures is to conserve the fish stock and the nursery habitats. The red square in this map, you can see the coral reefs all around the world in the red square. And the green circle show the LMMAs that are managing these coral reefs. LMMA started in Fiji in 1997, and then it expanded into the Indo-Pacific region, including South Pacific and Melanesia, Southeast Asia, and the Western Indian Ocean, including Madagascar. We now count around 2,000 LMMAs established over the past decades all around the world, and they manage 13% of the coral reefs. Madagascar is characterized by a high poverty rate, and more than 70% of the population lives under $1 per day. But despite this high poverty rate, Madagascar is one of the leading countries in establishing LMMAs around the world. And over the past 10 years, the number and the spatial coverage of LMMAs has grown very quickly in Madagascar. It includes now 200 LMMAs that covers almost 12,000 kilometers square of the coastal area, which represent 1% of the economic exclusive zone. And these LMMAs are located either inside or outside marine protected areas. I characterized Madagascar's LMMAs into two categories. The first one is the LMMAs within marine protected area. And these LMMAs operate under the hybrid management system where the local communities work with NGOs and government agencies to manage a marine protected area. This first diagram shows how and where the LMMAs are implemented, where they are inside a marine protected area. We have the marine protected area core zone, and then we have the NPA buffer zone, and the LMMAs are most of the time in the buffer zone of the marine protected area, and they help the management of the buffer zone in this marine protected area. But when they are located outside a marine protected area, they are just located in an open fishing coastal area, and they are managed through a traditional customary regulation that we called a DIN in Madagascar. And these regulations are established by the local communities, which dictates the access, the gear use, and the seasonal closures. LMMAs are embedded in a socio-ecological system because their governance system is managed by the local communities, and that relates to the empowerment part of the socio-ecological system. They conserve also marine habitats, as I explained. They conserve coral reefs, they conserve seagrass, mangroves, and endangered species, and that relates to the resource conservation part of the socio-ecological system. At the end, they also sustain small-scale fisheries, and that relates to the social well-being part of the socio-ecological system. And when we are evaluating LMMAs, the first question that we ask is, are they working? So if we want to evaluate that, we need to address this three part of the socio-ecological system and ask the question, do they empower the local communities? Do they reduce habitat destruction? And then do they sustain the small-scale fishers' well-being? I will answer this last question for this presentation. Specifically, I'm going to answer the question, do LMMA reduce the poverty of small-scale fishers in Madagascar? To address that, I will use a multidimensional approach of poverty that was developed by the World Bank in 2001. And the premise of this framework is that poverty alleviation requires the empowerment of the stakeholders to shape decisions that affect their lives by improving, for example, their participation on managing their resources. Poverty alleviation also requires the promotion of material opportunities, including financial capital, but it could be also human and natural capital. And it requires the enhancement of security against adverse shock to the socio-ecological system by promoting, for example, livelihood diversity among the local communities. And these three domains of poverty are connected and they are complementary, and addressing one component or one domain in this approach will impact the underlying cause of poverty addressed in the over two domains. Based on the World Bank approach, the Wildlife Conservation Society developed a framework that is named Global Socio-Ecological System Monitoring Framework, and they collected data to assess the impact and conservation, the impact of conservation and management actions. So they collected the data and created a database that is called MACMON. And MACMON contains qualitative and quantitative data. It could be ecological, but also socioeconomic data from 7 countries in Asia, Melanesia, and the Western Indian Ocean, including Madagascar. I will use this MACMON database, and based on this database and the approach that the World Bank developed, I developed a framework for my analysis. And this framework is grounded in the hypothesis that the LMMAs can contribute to poverty reduction by driving socio-ecological changes across the 3 key domains of poverty. And they materialized the 3 domains into 15 indicators that measure certain aspects of poverty likely to be affected by the LMMAs. Based on the MACMON data frame, I use 3 treatments for my analysis. The first treatment is going to be the LMMAs inside NPAs. The second one, LMMAs outside NPAs and no LMMAs. And this last treatment is the place where there is no management at all in the coastal areas. So I use this site to serve as control group to assess the socioeconomic difference in areas with LMMAs and compared to areas without LMMAs. For the poverty indicators, as you can see here, I used 3 for empowerment, 5 for the opportunity domain, and then the remaining are in the domain of security. For Madagascar, the macro database includes extensive ecological and socioeconomic data, and it was collected in the 3 treatments that I identified. It was collected for a 2-time period, 2016 and 2019, in land sites, and among them, 3 LMMAs outside MPAs, 4 LMMAs inside MPAs, and 3 control sites. So in total, I analyzed 926 household survey data. For the analysis, I used the difference in difference method developed by Gurney et al. In 2014 to analyze the significance of the 15 poverty indicators across the 3 treatments. And to analyze the change in poverty indicators over the time within the 3 treatments, I estimated the marginal means of the poverty indicators across the 3 treatments compared to the control, and even between the comparison between LMMAs outside MPAs compared to LMMAs inside MPAs. And I used that for the 2-time period, 2016 and 2019. And the 2 methods combined provide one metric that is called effect size over the time that I will use as the measure of the impact of LMMAs on poverty indicators. So using this analysis, I get some result. The result, the graph here shows the effect size of the 3 treatments on the 15 poverty indicators between 2016 and 2019. And the result shows that LMMAs in Madagascar have mixed impact on poverty reduction. In terms of numbers of indicators, LMMA mainly affect the poverty domain of opportunity, with comparatively smaller effect on security and empowerment. But on a positive note, the LMMA inside MPAs don't have any negative impact on any poverty indicator. If we dive deeply in each domain, we can see that for the domain of empowerment, the LMMAs, when they are outside MPAs, they have a significant impact on participation. As you can see here in this graph, when it is bold, it means significant, and the color means the free treatment that you have. So you can see that for the empowerment, the LMMAs outside MPAs have a significant and positive impact on participation compared to the control and even compared to the LMMAs inside MPAs. And even this effect is quite big because it is more than 1 in terms of effect size. For the opportunity domain, this is where the LMMA have mixed effect because there are some positive effect on material wealth, especially for the LMMAs inside MPAs, and also on human agency, knowledge of human agency, which means that the fishermen acknowledge that they can influence the condition and the health of the marine environment by doing some management actions. That's the indicator of knowledge of human agency means. So in terms of opportunity, LMMAs have positive impact on this indicator of knowledge of human agency, but also on material wealth. But unfortunately, they also have a negative impact on the management, the perception of the management effect on fish abundance and the perception of the management effect on the catch reliability. If we look at the security domain, we can see that the most significant impact is also negative, and it relates to the place attachment, especially for LMMAs outside MPAs. It seems that the LMMAs outside MPAs tend to reduce the place attachment. Place attachment means that the fishermen are willing to leave their area, the village where they live, if they are not very related to it anymore. So it seems that the LMMAs tend to disconnect the fishermen from the area of living and from the village where they come from. In conclusion, I can say that the impact of LMMAs on poverty reduction is mixed. There is a mixed effect because there is positive impact on material wealth, on knowledge of human agency, and on participation. But there are also negative impact, and the negative impact are mostly related to the perception of the local communities on fish catch reliability, on fish abundance, and on place attachment. And the most important thing is that the impact differs depending on whether the LMMAs are located inside or outside MPAs. The lessons learned from this analysis is that the local context is very important, and it can change the perception that the local communities have on the impact of LMMAs, because the quantitative data shows that the fish abundance and fish catch reliability in this area that are managed by the local communities are increasing, but the perception that the local communities have is that it decreased because there is some problem of governance, there are some problem of management that are not very well managed in the LMMAs outside MPAs, and that refers to the perception that the local community has on these poverty indicators. It also emphasizes that considering the bottom-up approach is important because the LMMAs improve the participation. It improves also the knowledge of human agency. So it really emphasizes the part that the bottom-up approach improves the human capital and empower the local communities when we are managing marine resources. And lastly, the analysis shows that it's important to keep differentiating the type of LMMAs in Madagascar when we are analyzing it, because even if they have the same structure, the result could be different when the LMMAs are located inside MPAs or outside MPAs. So thank you so much for your time. So this is my presentation. I'm happy to discuss more about the result if you have any question. And I would like to thank my advisor, Professor Don Kroll. I would like to thank you so much, Professor Pete Raimondi, for helping me in the statistical analysis, Dr. Bernie Tershi, Dr. Georgina Gurney from James Cook University in Australia, Dr. Emily Darlin, who is the program director at Wildlife Conservation Society, and she's managing the MacMon database, and all my lab mates from the Conservation Action Lab. I also would like to acknowledge all my founders who helped me during this journey at UCSC. Thank you.